Baby back ribs on the BROIL KEG. We're going to smoke some ribs today. What you want to do is start with your racks of ribs. On the back of the ribs there's often a membrane. These ones have been removed or I just can't get them off. You want to stick a butter knife under that membrane, pull it back, then use a piece of paper towel to peel off that membrane. Some ribs you can get them off, some are tough, some have been removed I think from the store. These ones they look like they've been ripped off, which is good. So that's the first step, remove that membrane. Then you want to make a rub. Ingredients in the rub can really vary. You want brown sugar, maybe a little bit of chili powder. This is like 5 tablespoons of brown sugar, tablespoon of chili powder, tablespoon of garlic powder, like a teaspoon of onion powder, so put a dash of paprika in there, a little bit of a ground oregano. Brown sugar is the important part, and then you can just put some other random common spices like chili, garlic, onion, paprika, oregano, stuff like that. Experiment with it. Then you just sprinkle the rub on the ribs. Easier to use your hands, really. Kind of just get it in there, rub it all in, rub it in the sides, flip them over, rub it into the back as well. You just kind of want to get these things coated. You can do this the night before and keep them in the fridge. You can do it, I'm going to do it right before I put these on. I'm going to put these on at 11 a.m. and smoke them for 5 or 6 hours for a 5 or 6 o'clock dinner time. I don't really notice much difference between rubbing them right before versus rubbing them the night before. But again, you can experiment with it or just do it when you have time. So the next step will be to get these things, get the keg lit up, and we'll go do that now. Alright, time to light this bad boy again. Open the air up at the bottom. Got some fresh coals in there and some old ones from last time. And again, this is how I light this. I use my biodiesel blend. Usually I just put a little on the front there. First, grab this and try not to burn yourself. Get it going. And then I do that just so there's not as big of a fire, and then you can put this stuff on later. It seems to work a little better doing it this way. Just get it going like this. There. No smoke, no smell, clean burning. This will burn down for five minutes or so, and the coals should be nice and lit. And next step is to fill the diffuser with water. We'll set the diffuser in there. We're going to do an indirect cook today. So we'll fill that with water. Some people cut up lemons and onions. I really don't think it makes a difference. I'm just going to do straight water. And then we'll get these ribs going. So we'll let this burn down and start making some heat. Oh, there's some wind. And you can see there's already some white starting on the coals, so these things are already starting to light up nice. It's been about 5 or 7 minutes, and you can see these coals are really starting to take off. So the next step is to put the diffuser in, one-handed. A little bit difficult. Here. There's this rack first that goes in, like that. And then the pan goes in. And then I'm going to fill it with water. I'm putting hot water in because if you put cold water in here, it really takes the heat out of it takes a while for the cold water to warm up. It seems to take the heat out of the grill. So we'll try hot water, speed things up a little bit. And you want to monitor this as you're cooking throughout the day. You don't want this to dry out, because if you do, then the fat from the ribs will hit the pan and start to smoke, and it'll create a kind of a sour smoke. I don't know if this even makes any sense. Some people put lemons in here. I'm too lazy to cut lemons and I don't have any. So I doubt this makes any difference, but it can't hurt, right? Keystone. You should always have at least one beer when you're doing this, even if it's 10 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to get carried away, but it's kind of nice. Okay, next step, we'll put the grill on, then the rack, and then the ribs. I almost forgot the smoke, the wood. These are Applewood chunks. probably better to do this before I put the diffuser in, but whatever. This is about experimenting and improvising. So we'll just chuck these babies in underneath there, all around. And we'll get some smoke going too. You just want a few chunks. You don't I don't like really smoky flavored ribs, but a few chunks of Applewood is nice. Okay, and the grill goes on. Then the rack. You can get these racks on Amazon or Walmart or different places. Okay, next we want to get our ribs into our rack, which is ready to go. Now, as far as temperatures go, if I'm doing these for a long time, like 6 hours, we want to keep the temperature on the dial here below 300. I know this thing fairly well, I'm starting to get to really know it. If this is reading 300, the grill and where the ribs are is probably a little bit less, like maybe 260 or something like that. And that's kind of where we want it for most of the day, around that 250 mark. Some guys say 225, some say 250, 275. You just kind of want to maintain it around that, in my experience, that 250 mark. So that fire is going really good. The temperature is continuing to come up. I don't want it to come up too much, so I've brought the bottom vent down to about 2, and same thing around the top. And I think that should allow this thing to continue to climb slowly, but not get above 300. As you become more familiar with your grill, you will be able to do this more on the fly. You know, at one point I would really wait and make sure that the temperature was perfect before I put the meat on. I know that it's going to continue to come up. I just gotten a feel for these coals and how this thing heats up. So I'm going to put the ribs on now and continue just to watch this and make sure that the temperature keeps coming up. We might open it up a little bit to try and get that fire going. But you just have to experiment with it. And like I said, eventually you'll get to know your particular grill, whether it's a KEG or another style of Komodo grill, and you'll be able to get the temperature where you want it. So we're starting to get some smoke from those apple chunks I put on. We will take the ribs, and these racks are kind of cool because you can one-handed. It's tough. Oh god, I need to get a better camera set up for these videos. You can put in this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 racks on, and smoke them this way. You could lay these directly on the grill as well, but you can obviously do less racks if you do that. So these, if you're going to be doing ribs, more than one or two or three racks, you want one of these rib racks. So we'll continue to put these on and then close the lid, monitor the temperature, and hope for the best throughout the day. The other thing you want to do is, as I mentioned, watch the water in the pan and make sure it doesn't dry out. So you can just grab your container and pour water directly into the pan if it starts to evaporate and dry out later in the day. Alright, ribs are all on. You want to keep them spread apart a little bit so that the air and the smoke and the heat can come up between them. You don't want them kind of smushed together, touching each other, because then they might not cook evenly. But you just want a little bit of air in between like that. You're going to play with it a little bit. Whoop. And see where it goes. So we'll close that. Like I said, monitor this temperature. Try and get it up into that high 200 range, and let it go for 5 or 6 hours. Okay, the ribs have been on for about 6 hours. It's after 5 p.m. now. We put them on around 11 a.m. We're starting to lose heat here. I got the vents wide open now. The coals must be getting kind of burned out because we're struggling to maintain over 200 degrees. That's okay, these things are pretty well done. We were able to maintain like 250 to 275 all day. So I think we're looking good. The final step, which I already did actually, is to sauce them. So you just want to sauce them with whatever sauce you like. This is just a out of the bottle sauce. You can make your own as well. But you want to do this about an hour before you think they're done. So I did these about an hour ago. I didn't make a video, but just about an hour before you're going to eat. So if you're going to eat at 5 and you think they're going to be ready for 5, around 4, open it up, get your sauce on there, and then close it and let it. Alright, this is the finished product. You can tell if they're done because they'll start to separate.